Ladies and gentlemen, the greatest enemy of your destiny is not the devil, not your past, and not the people who doubt you. The greatest enemy of your destiny is the weaker version of yourself, the version that lives in fear, the version that makes excuses, the version that settles for less than what God has designed for you. Until you kill that weak version, you will never step into the life that was meant for you. Every day there is a battle happening inside of you. One side of you is strong, confident, full of faith, and ready to rise. But the other side is weak, insecure, afraid, and always looking for an excuse to stay the same. And the reality is, whichever side you feed will win. If you keep feeding the weak version of yourself, giving in to fear, procrastination, and self-doubt, then it will continue to control your life. But if you starve that weakness and start feeding your strength, you will become unstoppable. Too many people blame external circumstances for their failures. They blame the economy, their upbringing, their lack of resources. But the truth is, your biggest limitation is not outside of you, it is inside of you. It is the mindset that says, I can't. It is the fear that whispers, what if I fail? It is the voice of insecurity that says, you're not good enough. But let me tell you something. Until you silence that voice, you will remain stuck in the same place year after year. Look at the Israelites. When they were freed from Egypt, God had already given them the promised land. It was theirs. But when they saw the giants, fear overtook them. They said, we are like grasshoppers in our own eyes. Notice what they said, not in the eyes of the giants, but in their own eyes. Their greatest enemy was not the giants. It was their own weak self-mission. They had a slave mentality when God was calling them to be rulers. And because they refused to kill that weak version of themselves, they wandered in the wilderness for 40 years and never entered their destiny. How many of you are wandering in the wilderness of life because you refuse to let go of the weak version of yourself? God has already given you everything you need to win. He has placed purpose, power, and potential inside of you, but He will not force you to step into it. You have to make a decision. Either you live as the weak version of yourself, or you rise up and become the person you were meant to be. A lion that is raised among sheep will think like a sheep. It will act like a sheep. It will live in fear like a sheep. But the moment that lion realizes who it is, everything changes. It stops running from threats. It stops being intimidated. It stops doubting itself. Why? Because it has discovered its true nature. And I came to tell somebody today, it's time to discover your true nature. You were not designed to live in fear. You were not created to be a slave to your circumstances. You were born to dominate, to lead, to overcome. But you can't do that until you kill the version of you that keeps holding you back. You have to kill the version of you that settles. The version of you that wakes up late, makes excuses, and blames everyone else for where you are in life. The version of you that says, I'll do it tomorrow. The version of you that is always waiting for the perfect time but never takes action. Let me tell you something. The perfect time will never come. Waiting for everything to be just right before you step out, you will wait your entire life and never fulfill your purpose. Every person you admire, every great leader, every successful individual had to fight this same battle. They had to kill the version of themselves that wanted to quit, that wanted to settle, that wanted to give up. But because they made the decision to rise, they stepped into their destiny. And if they did it, you can do it too. This is your moment. This is your season. Enough is enough. No more playing small. No more excuses. No more waiting for someone to give you permission to be great. God has already given you permission. So today, make the decision. Kill the weak version of yourself and step into the life you were created for. Now go and live like the person you were meant to be. Potential is one of the most powerful words in the world, yet one of the most dangerous. Because potential means something exists, but it hasn't been realized. It means there is something inside of you, but it is still trapped. Potential is like a seed. It carries the power to become a mighty tree, but if it is never planted, it will never grow. And this is the tragedy of life. So many people go to their graves never having released the potential that was inside of them. The richest place on earth is not the oil fields of the Middle East. It's not the diamond mines of Africa. It's not the banks of Wall Street. The richest place on earth is the cemetery. Why? Because buried in the graveyard are dreams that were never fulfilled, books that were never written, songs that were never sung, businesses that were never started, ideas that were never shared, and potential that was never realized. And the greatest tragedy in life is not death, it is dying without ever becoming who you were created to be. Everything in life was created with potential. When God made the earth, He didn't create trees, He created seeds. He didn't create chairs, He created trees and put the idea for chairs inside the mind of man. When God made you, He placed inside of you everything you would ever need to fulfill your purpose. But potential is useless if it remains locked inside of you. It must be released. It must be developed. It must be maximized. The problem is too many people live and die without ever discovering what is inside of them. They listen to fear. They believe the lies that tell them they are not good enough. They settle for less than what they were created for. And the weak version of themselves convinces them to play it safe, to live small, to never take risks. But let me tell you something. Potential is never released in comfort. A seed must be buried in the ground, pushed into darkness and broken before it can grow. If you refuse to be stretched, if you refuse to take risks, if you refuse to grow, you will die full of potential but empty of purpose. Inside of you right now is greatness. Inside of you right now is a leader. Inside of you right now is a visionary, a pioneer, history maker. But if you do not take action, if you do not kill the version of you that loves comfort, that loves excuses, that loves to wait, then that potential will die inside of you. And let me tell you, the greatest pain in life is not failure. It is regret. It is knowing that you could have done more, you could have become more, you could have impacted more lives, but you let fear stop you. Think about the eagle. When the eagle lays its egg, inside of that egg is the potential for a powerful bird that will soar above the storms. But if that egg is never cracked open, if it stays comfortable in the shell, it will never fly. The eagle must break out. It must fight to escape. And once it does, it begins the process of becoming what it was always meant to be. You too must be willing to break out. You must be willing to push past fear, push past self-doubt, push past insecurity, and step into your full potential. David was just a shepherd boy, but inside of him was a king. Moses was a stuttering fugitive, but inside of him was a deliverer. Gideon saw himself as weak, but inside of him was a mighty warrior. And today you may see yourself as average, as ordinary, as not qualified, but let me tell you, inside of you is something greater than you can imagine. But it will not come out until you decide to release it. Stop waiting for the perfect time. Stop waiting for someone to give you permission. Stop waiting for everything to align before you take action. The weak version of you will always have an excuse. It will always tell you you're not ready. But I came to tell you, you will never feel ready. You just have to step out. You just have to start. You just have to believe that what God placed inside of you is enough. Your potential is waiting to be released. Your future is waiting for you to rise. Your purpose is calling, but only you can answer. Kill the weak version of yourself. Step out in faith and let the world see the greatness that is inside of you. Now go and live like the person you are meant to be. The greatest battle in life is not against external forces, but against the voice inside of you that tells you to stay the same. That voice, that weak version of yourself, is always looking for an excuse to remain comfortable, to avoid risks, to settle for what is easy instead of pushing toward what is possible. The weak version of you loves comfort, loves excuses, and loves fear. because those things keep you from stepping into your full potential. And until you kill that version of yourself, you will never rise to the level of the person you were created to be. Comfort is the enemy of progress. Every great person you admire had to make a choice to stay comfortable or to step into the unknown. And let me tell you, comfort is deceptive. It feels good in the moment, but it slowly kills your potential. The weak version of you will say, you don't have to push yourself today. You can do it tomorrow. But tomorrow turns into next week turns into next year, and before you know it, you've wasted years waiting for the right time. The right time is now. The moment you recognize that you are stuck in comfort is the moment you need to move. Excuses are another tool of the weak self. The weak version of you will always have a reason why you can't move forward. I don't have the money. I don't have the connections. I don't have the right background. But let me ask you, when has any great person ever had everything they needed when they started? David didn't have a sword when he fought Goliath. He had a sling and faith. Moses didn't have confidence when he stood before Pharaoh. He had obedience and a staff. What you have right now is enough if you are willing to step out. But the weak version of you will keep you trapped in excuses, and if you listen to those excuses long enough, they will become your reality. Fear is the final prison of the weak version of yourself. Fear will whisper, what if you fail? But I ask, what if you succeed? Fear will tell you, what will people think? But I ask, does their opinion matter more than your purpose? Fear is an illusion. It is the only prison where the door is unlocked, but people choose to stay inside. The weak version of you is comfortable in that prison. It is safe there, but safety will never lead you to your destiny. Every champion, every leader, every successful person had to face fear and push through it. They were not fearless. They were just willing to move forward despite their fear. And that is the difference between those who succeed and those who never try. Look at the eagle. The mother eagle does something interesting when it is time for her young to fly. She begins to remove the soft feathers and grass from the nest, making it uncomfortable. She makes the nest a place they no longer want to stay in. Why? Because she knows that comfort will keep them from flying. And many of you are in a place where life is pushing you, where things feel uncomfortable, where you feel stretched. That is not a sign that you are failing. It is a sign that you are being prepared to fly. But if you cling to comfort, if you hold on to excuses, if you allow fear to control you, you will never experience what it feels like to soar. You must kill the weak version of yourself that tells you to stay where you are. You must silence the excuses that try to convince you that you are not capable. You must push past fear and step into the unknown. Because on the other side of fear is freedom. On the other side of comfort is growth. On the other side of excuses is purpose. But only those who are willing to kill the weak version of themselves will experience it. So today, make the decision. No more comfort, no more excuses, no more fear. You were not designed to live small, to live hesitant, to live afraid. You were created to be bold, to take risks, to move forward with confidence. Kill the weak version of yourself and step into the person you were meant to be. Now go and live like the person you were meant to be. You were never designed to crawl through life, struggling, doubting, and settling for mediocrity. You were created to soar, to rise above limitations, to break through barriers, but the weak version of you has convinced you that you belong on the ground, scratching for survival, just like a chicken. And until you kill that version of yourself, you will never experience what it means to live at the level you were destined for. The difference between an eagle and a chicken is not just where they live, but how they see themselves. A chicken is confined to the ground. It scratches in the dirt, pecking for whatever it can find, limited by its surroundings. It never looks up because its world is small. It's comfortable living in limitation. But the eagle is different. The eagle was designed to rule the skies. It does not fear storms. It flies above them. It does not fight for scraps. It soars high and sees opportunities others cannot see. And the truth is, some of you have been living like a chicken when you were born to be an eagle. The weak version of you is satisfied with just getting by. It is comfortable with small thinking, with small dreams, with a small life. It says, this is just the way things are. This is all I can do. This is all I'll ever be. But that is a lie. That is not the real you. That is the version of you that has been trained by fear, trained by insecurity, trained by past failures. The real you is waiting to break free, but first, you must kill the version of yourself that keeps looking down when you were created to look up. Eagles don't fit in with chickens, and some of you have been trying to fit in with people who do not think like you, do not dream like you, do not believe like you. And because they are comfortable on the ground, they get uncomfortable when they see you trying to rise. They tell you, you're dreaming too big. You're trying too hard. You need to be realistic. But listen to me. You will never fly if you keep listening to chickens. You will never soar if you surround yourself with people who are afraid to leave the ground. If an eagle spends too much time with chickens, it will start to think it is a chicken. And if you spend too much time with people who do not believe in their own potential, they will convince you to doubt yours. The weak version of you is afraid of change. It is afraid to step into new territory. It says, what if I fail? What if I fall? What if I'm not good enough? But let me tell you something. Eagles are not afraid to fall because they were born to fly. They do not fear the height because they were designed for it. And the moment they spread their wings, they realize that falling is impossible. The same is true for you. The moment you step out of your comfort zone, the moment you stop living in fear, the moment you refuse to settle, you will realize that you were designed for more. Unless you're willing to will power, you will know better than you're falling away from. Look at the eagle's vision. While chickens can only see what is right in front of them, the eagle sees miles ahead. It sees the opportunity before others do. And this is why small-minded people will never understand big thinkers. They can only see what is in front of them, but you see further. You see what is possible. And that is why you must rise above the noise, rise above the doubt, rise above the limitations that people try to put on you. It is time to leave the ground. It is time to stop scratching the surface of your potential and start soaring in the fullness of what you were created to be. The world does not need another person who settles. The world does not need another person who plays small. The world needs you to rise. But you cannot rise until you kill the version of yourself that keeps looking down, that keeps holding back, that keeps living in fear. You were not born to be average. You were not created to live in fear. You were designed to dominate, to lead, to make an impact. But that can only happen if you make the decision today to rise. No more excuses, no more doubt, no more waiting. Kill the weak version of yourself and take your place where you belong. Soaring above, ruling in the place God created for you. Now go and live like the person you were meant to be. The battle for your destiny is a battle of the mind. It is not fought with swords or shields, but with thoughts, beliefs, and convictions. Your mind is the control center of your life. Whatever dominates your mind will dominate your actions, and whatever dominates your actions will determine your future. The weak version of you is controlled by a mindset of fear, doubt, and limitation. But the strong version of you is guided by a mindset of faith, confidence, and vision. And until you renew your mind, you will always struggle to break free from the things that hold you back. Everything you do, everything you achieve, and everything you become begins in your mind. If you think small, you will live small. If you believe you are weak, you will never act with strength. If you see yourself as incapable, you will never step into greatness. This is why the weak version of you must die, because it is a prisoner of the wrong mindset. It is locked in a cycle of negative thinking, always looking at problems instead of possibilities, always seeing obstacles instead of opportunities, always saying, I can't instead of I will. But today, You must make a decision to break that cycle. Your mind is a battlefield, and every day two forces are fighting for control. One side speaks fear, telling you that you are not good enough, that you are not smart enough, that you will never succeed. But the other side speaks faith, reminding you that you are more than a conqueror, that you are created for a purpose, that there is nothing impossible for you. The question is, which voice will you listen to? Because whatever voice you feed will become your reality. The weak version of you is a product of the past. It remembers every failure, every mistake, every rejection, and it uses them as evidence to keep you stuck. It reminds you of the times you tried and failed. It keeps replaying the moments when you were hurt, embarrassed, or discouraged. But listen to me, your past is not your future. Your past is a lesson, not a life sentence. You must stop allowing old experiences to dictate your new decisions. A renewed mind refuses to be trapped by yesterday. It chooses to look forward instead of looking back. Look at the Israelites when they left Egypt. God had already freed them, but they still thought like slaves. When they faced difficulty, they said, let's go back to Egypt. At least we had food there. Their bodies were free, but their minds were still in bondage. And this is the danger of an unrenewed mind. It will always pull you back to what is familiar, even if what is familiar is toxic. Many of you are holding on to a mindset that is keeping you in Egypt. You say you want to succeed, but you think like a failure. You say you want to grow, but you hold on to the habits that keep you small. You say you want to rise, but you still surround yourself with people who don't believe in your potential. If you do not renew your mind, you will always return to the place you are trying to escape. Renewing your mind is not an event. It is a process. It is a daily decision to reject thoughts that do not serve your purpose and replace them with thoughts that align with your destiny. You cannot fill your mind with negativity and expect to live a positive life. You cannot meditate on fear and expect to walk in confidence. You cannot constantly feed yourself doubt and expect to operate in faith. You must be intentional about what you allow into your mind. An eagle does not waste time with chickens. It does not sit on the ground listening to voices that tell it that flying is impossible. It looks to the sky, focusing on what it was created to do. And you must do the same. You must eliminate distractions. You must remove yourself from environments that reinforce small thinking. You must guard your mind like a treasure because your destiny depends on it. Your thoughts determine your future. The weak version of you cannot survive in an environment of strong, faithful thinking. It only survives in doubt, excuses, and fear. So if you want to kill the weak version of yourself, start by renewing your mind. Speak differently. Think differently. Surround yourself with people who challenge you to grow. Feed your spirit with wisdom, with truth, with vision. Because the moment your mind is renewed, your life will change. You were created for greatness. You were designed to rule, to lead, to make an impact. But your life will never rise higher than your thoughts. Kill the weak version of yourself by renewing your mind and watch as your future begins to transform. Now go and live like the person you were meant to be. The weak version of you loves to talk about what could be, what should be, what might happen one day. It is always dreaming, always planning, always making promises to itself, but never taking action. And this is why so many people live with frustration. They see where they want to be, but they are not willing to do what it takes to get there. Vision without action is deception. You can see the promised land, but if you refuse to move, you will die in the wilderness. The time for talking is over. The time for excuses is over. The time for action is now. Nothing in life changes until you move. You can pray, you can hope, you can desire all you want, but until you take the first step, nothing happens. Too many people are waiting for the perfect moment, waiting for everything to be in place, waiting for the fear to disappear before they take action. But let me tell you, the perfect moment will never come. Fear will never fully go away. You will never feel completely ready. That is why you must take action now, even if you feel unprepared. Look at a seed. A seed carries the potential of a mighty tree, but until it is planted, it remains just a seed. You can hold it in your hand and talk about the kind of tree it could become. You can dream about how tall it will grow, how much fruit it will bear, how much shade it will provide, but until you put it in the ground, nothing happens. The potential remains locked inside. Some of you have been carrying the seed of greatness for years. You talk about what you want to do. You dream about the impact you want to make. You imagine the life you want to live, but nothing has changed because you have not planted the seed. You have not taken action. The weak version of you fears action because action requires commitment. Action means stepping into the unknown. It means moving beyond your comfort zone. It means embracing discomfort, challenges, and even failure. And that is why many never take action, because they are waiting for an easy path. But listen to me, there is no easy path to greatness. There is no shortcut to success. There is no smooth road to destiny. Every person who has ever achieved something meaningful had to fight through resistance, through obstacles, through moments of doubt. But the difference between those who succeed and those who don't is simple. One took action, the other didn't. Stop waiting for motivation. Stop waiting for the right feelings. Stop waiting for someone to validate you. You don't need another sign. You don't need another confirmation. You don't need another person's permission. You already know what you need to do. The problem is not knowledge. The problem is action. You are sitting on ideas, on dreams, on potential that will never come to life until you take the first step. And if you do not move, you will spend your life frustrated, watching others rise while you remain stuck in the same place, year after year. Look at Peter when he saw Jesus walking on water. He wanted to do the same, and Jesus told him one thing, come. That was it. No long speech, no explanation, no reassurance, just one word, come. And in that moment, Peter had a choice. He could stay in the boat where it was safe, where it was familiar, where there was no risk, or he could step out. And the moment he took action, the moment his foot touched the water, the impossible became possible. But understand this, he had to step out first. The miracle did not happen while he was sitting in the boat. It happened when he moved. Some of you are waiting for the miracle, but the miracle is waiting for your movement. You are waiting for doors to open, but the doors only open when you knock. You are waiting for a breakthrough, but breakthroughs happen when you push. Nothing in life comes to those who wait. It comes to those who move, who act, who refuse to sit still while their destiny calls them forward. Today is the day to take action. Not tomorrow, not next week, not when you feel ready. Now. What step have you been afraid to take? What vision have you been putting off? What dream have you been waiting to start? The time for waiting is over. The time for action is now. Kill the weak version of yourself that loves to talk but refuses to move. Kill the version of you that hesitates, that delays, that makes excuses. Step forward, take action, move in faith, and watch as your life begins to transform. Now go and live like the person you were meant to be. Your life is a reflection of your decisions. Every single choice you make either moves you closer to your destiny or keeps you trapped in mediocrity. The weak version of you does not like making decisions. It hesitates, it second guesses, it delays. It waits for someone else to take responsibility, but hear me today, until you take full ownership of your life, nothing will change. You cannot blame your past, you cannot blame your family, you cannot blame your environment. Yes, those things may have influenced you, but they do not define you. You are not a victim. You are not powerless. You are not trapped. You have been given the power of choice. And that is one of the greatest gifts you possess. But if you refuse to use it, you will remain stuck in the same place, repeating the same cycles year after year. The weak version of you looks for excuses. It says, I can't change because of my upbringing. I can't succeed because of my circumstances. I can't move forward because of what happened to me. But the strong version of you says, I may not control my past, but I control my future. I may not have chosen where I started, but I choose where I finish. That is the difference. One blames, the other takes responsibility. One waits for life to happen, the other makes life happen. Look at the prodigal son. He made a series of bad decisions. He wasted his inheritance. He ended up in a pit, living among pigs in a place far beneath his potential. But at one point, he made a decision. The Bible says he came to himself. That means he had a moment of realization. I don't belong here. This is not my destiny. This is not the life I was born for. And in that moment, he made a decision to change. He did not wait for someone to come rescue him. He did not wait for perfect conditions. He did not stay in self-pity. He simply got up and moved. And because of that decision, his life was restored. Some of you are in a place right now that you know you do not belong. You are living below your potential. You are tolerating a version of life that is far beneath what was intended for you. And you have been waiting, hoping, wishing for something to change. But listen to me. Nothing changes until you decide. No one is coming to save you. No one is going to force you to rise. The power is in your hands. And until you take responsibility for your future, you will remain exactly where you are. The weak version of you is afraid of making decisions because decisions require commitment. Decisions require risk. Decisions require action. And sometimes decisions come with discomfort. But hear this, indecision is a decision. If you do not decide to move forward, you have already decided to stay where you are. If you do not decide to rise, you have already chosen to remain on the ground. If you do not decide to take a step, you have already chosen to remain stuck. Every time you delay a decision, you delay your destiny. Think about an eagle. When it is time for an eaglet to fly, the mother does not wait for it to feel ready. She does not sit around and ask, do you feel like flying today? No! She pushes it out of the nest. Why? Because if it does not fly, it will never fulfill its purpose. And some of you are still in the nest, waiting, hesitating, trying to decide if you should take the leap. But I am here to tell you, it is time. It is time to stop sitting in indecision. It is time to stop living in hesitation. It is time to step out and move toward what you are created for. Every great person in history had to make a defining decision. Abraham had to leave his home without knowing where he was going. Moses had to decide to confront Pharaoh. David had to step onto the battlefield when everyone else was afraid. Peter had to step out of the boat. Jesus had to set his face toward the cross. Every destiny is unlocked through a decision. And today you are faced with the same choice: to continue living as you have been, or to rise up and step into the future that is waiting for you. You were not created to live in uncertainty. You were not designed to hesitate, to question, to waver between doubt and faith. You were born to walk in confidence, to move with clarity, to act with boldness. But that only happens when you make a decision. Decide today that you will no longer be controlled by fear. Decide today that you will no longer settle for less. Decide today that you will kill the weak version of yourself and embrace the strong, confident, purpose-driven person you were always meant to be. Your future is waiting. Your destiny is calling. The question is, what will you decide? The battle between the weak version of you and the strong version of you is not one that is fought once. It is a daily decision. Every day you will have to choose whether to stay the same or rise higher, whether to hold on to fear or walk in faith, whether to make excuses or take action. But hear me today, your future is too important to waste. Your potential is too great to be ignored. Your destiny is too powerful to be delayed. You were not created to live in hesitation, in doubt, in weakness. You were created to walk in strength, in confidence, in purpose. Now is the time to kill the weak version of yourself once and for all. No more excuses, no more waiting, no more settling for less. Renew your mind, conquer your fears, take bold action, make decisive choices, and step into the fullness of who you were born to be. Your life is in your hands. Your future is waiting. The world is waiting. Rise up, move forward, and live like the person you were meant to be. Good luck on your journey to greatness, and thank you for listening.